It's absolutely confident, even if you've got a really good point. If you say it like you don't believe what you're saying, it sounds like you're wrong, even if you're right. So whatever you say it like whatever you do, say it like you believe it. Because even if it turns out that things don't play out that way, people will be like, well, at least as long as you sound like you know what you're talking about, you know what you're talking about.
Bashing bigots keep blistering me. I'll find religion exactly where I shouldn't. If there's smoke, there is fire, I will find it. Leafy street, gold-plated sheep. There ain't nothing like that in down on my radar. I see you on my radar.
Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, depending on where you are watching this. Welcome back to the WFDF YouTube channel, where we are delighted to be bringing you the other half of our test match doubleheader today between the Italian and German under-20 sides. We've already had a scintillating universe point finish in the men's game, and I'm sure that the women's game is not going to disappoint either. You see both sides just going through their final preparations and warm-ups as well, here in the beautifully picturesque surroundings of Heidelberg in Germany. Benjamin Rees once more in the commentary booth, and I'm delighted to say that I've got a new face joining me once more. Would you care to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Patricia. I'm 21 years old. I'm also already played under 17, under 20 and under 23 national for Germany. Yes, and now I'm really excited about the girls, how they play. Yes.
It should be a hell of a game. Both these sides got a bit of international pedigree behind them. A lot of these players have come up through these systems already, and we saw in the men's game how it seems like even just having a couple of tournaments under your belt for the international game, it feels a bit like there's a slight weight off your back as opposed to coming into an international team for the first time. I mean, as you spoke yourself, you've done a few of these. You've done a few international tournaments now, and I guess the more you do, the more accustomed to it you become.
Yeah, the more confident you get also. Yeah, I think also in the tournament, with the time you get more confident, you get your own routine in a way. Yes, I hope they will find their own routine very quickly.
Obviously, these sides preparing for the World Junior Ultimate Championships going on next month in Waterloo, Canada. It's not something international to say that it's certainly quite a trip over, and so the more competitive games you can get under your belt going in beforehand just gives you kind of a little bit of an extra advantage as opposed to teams that maybe are newer in the cycle.
Yeah,
So a couple of things been going on already this weekend and over the past few days here in Heidelberg. We've had the European Youth Ultimate Camps been going on. Trying to get younger players with some top-level coaching, get them some more intense ultimate experience, and that's tied into the EUF Train the Trainers initiative, trying to get more top-level coaches training and teaching and coaching together, get that experience under their belt, and there's the emphasis on spirit as well. Have you been here at one of the? Have you had a chance to experience any of these EYUC camps?
No, I think it's the first time in Germany. Yeah, a thing like that. So no, I've never been before. But in my opinion, it's a very good thing for the young players. Yeah, to get into the sport, make new experience, make new friends on the field. So yeah, it's the first time, but it's a good thing, I think.
It's certainly one of the aspects that I think is often overlooked when it comes to playing for a national side, is that a lot of these players you won't know very well when you come in and you integrate, especially if maybe a side like the Germans, where there's a lot of players who've played internationally before, and then new players to the international side. It can be difficult to integrate, and I guess the more chance you get to play with players at these camps and at lower levels and earlier stages,
you get connected with the others. Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why. Well, certainly why on a personal level we enjoy playing Ultimate, is that is that sense of the Ultimate community, and anything you can do to foster those, like at these camps, is an excellent thing to do as well.
Yeah, right.
So these sides going to do a little line-up for handshakes, and then we're going to go back into national anthems, which I particularly enjoyed before the Open game earlier. So the Italians just going through final preparations to line up. The Italians have got a much smaller roster than the Germans do, and I think you'll probably see that demonstrated when they line up for the anthems. Obviously the Germans have the advantage of being at home, so to speak, but it's still nice to see such a big squad turn out.
Yeah, I think 2 players of the German team are missing, but the others are here.
There's probably about 20 players here altogether.
Yeah. From Germany, from the east, from the south, from every part of Germany.
And there's certainly a lot smaller roster for the Italians here, and I wonder as the game goes on whether that will play into terms of the legs, in terms of the energy that both these sides have. Martini's done an excellent job of helping us set up this weekend, and generally just anything we need, he's been such a supportive presence for us. He's giving both teams some high fives. Teams getting ready to take the field. So for most of these players, will be the first time they've had necessarily this particular experience of going on and doing the lining up and before a game, and it's a little bit something to get used to, both in terms of us streaming it, and also he's beginning to take the field now, and you can really see now the difference in roster sizes. I think one of the German coaches seems to be wearing an ankle support and getting a nice little piggyback from one of our compatriots. Both sides ready to line up for the national anthems now. Oh, they're going to toss in the middle of the field as well. A little bit of extra drama. The wind's died down a little bit now from where it was earlier, but if you had the choice, what would you choose to do off the pull, off the toss even?
I think I would take the left side right now, because the wind comes from left to the right. Maybe for the hugs, it's a better position for the players. Could be.
I'd be inclined to agree with you. I think I'd do the same. Take the upwind sideline and try and get the wind at your back early on.
Yeah, for the long shots.
Just a little brief stoppage where we have a slight issue with the with our speaker system for the anthems. Nice little display of patriotism from both sides there as they go to slap hands after the national anthems. Certainly the in terms of the singing voices, they're perhaps a bit more reserved than their male counterparts, but probably a bit more tuneful. So it looks like the Germans have followed your advice and have got the left end zone to start with.
Yeah.
It seems like they're going to pull as well. So the reverse to what we saw in the first game already today. The German huddle, I think their final chance and preparation's getting pretty loud. See both teams raring to go. They've already watched their male counterparts take the field, and now with the wind died down a little bit. Obviously, that's going to be tempting fate. As soon as you talk about the wind being
good.
still,
Yeah, for the pool.
It never is. It seems. I think the Italians are going to pull to start.
Okay.
I saw one of the German coaches pop the disc down that end of the field. So for the Germans, starting on offense and going downwind as well, it's a pretty nice way to start the game. Although obviously, if you're the Italians, you can get a break to start going against the wind and turning the offense over as well. That would be such a confidence booster. And the Italians suiting up just 13 players today. And I wonder if that will be a factor as the game wears on. So the Germans will receive to start the game. And the Italian coach is just making her Very final preparations, giving advice to her young charges. Sabrina Casali is going to pull for the Italians. And we are underway here in Heidelberg, Germany. Confident start, catching the ball, moving the disc upfield for a few yards, and zone look to begin from the Italian defence. Looking for a little pop off into the cup. Disc on this near sideline. Looking for an option in the centre of the field. Has to keep it on the sideline. Running the give go with Salvik. That's a nice inside shot into the middle there. Germans looking very calm and assured at the start. Schaffer. Option on this sideline, really stretching the width of the field with the dish off. Big fake, really trying to space around that front line of the Italian defence. Looking for the inside shot through. Defenders just a split second too late on that one. The Italians reset and the Germans are happy just to get their offense spaced out as well. High over the top, it's faked and it's a nice nice dish into the middle. Thinks about the pop-off, instead looks upfield, gaining a couple of yards with that one. It's Italian defence not necessarily pressuring the reset so much, and with the wind died down ever so slightly, the Germans are more than happy to take it. And there's the pop into the end zone, simply walking it down the field, so calm and confident from the German offense, and that's a dream start to the game. 1-0 the current score. I don't think you can really do it any better than that.
Yeah, I think Müller is one of the main handler. You see it with the white hat, and also Schäfer, one of the main handlers. They play really good together. Also see the place in the middle to pop through.
I thought the timing downfield was very good. They were hitting the right spaces off the swings toward the sideline, so it was never really trapped for particularly long.
Yes, yeah, right. And they were very patient all the time.
Yeah, they never looked rushed at all, and especially with it a bit windy, it can be so easy to get flustered with that. But as you mentioned, always confident and calm. Lovely start there for the hosts. So we're going to see what they can do on defense. Would you expect them to go one-on-one or play some sort of zone?
I think it will be a man defense, a normal one. But I'm not sure.
And they mentioned that we're going to try a few different things, see what they can work ahead of
Through the game, yeah, different.
Ahead of the World Championships. So throw a couple of different looks, see what combinations work and which ones don't. And good call, going with that one-on-one match-up defense. Good work there, isolating a reset. Niceto finds the option downfield of Letizia Gatti. On the sideline now is Elena Bengi. Nice pivot around for that swing into the middle. This Italian offense again trying to get the disc moving pretty quickly. Force gets too far inside, and that's a lovely layout grab. I thought the throw was going to be too far, but did an excellent job of not only making the catch but keeping her feet in bounds as well.
It was a nice play.
Excellent stuff there from the Italians, tied back up at 1-1. Love to see if we can get a second shot of that on the replay. Was picture perfect form. Coaches making some discussions with their teammates. So pretty confident to actually start from both sides here. Here's that replay. You see the force come too flat, bites on that fake, and that's why a good fake is so important. Oh, lovely stuff. Clearly in bounds as well. And getting it from the low angle as well now. Lovely stuff. So the Italians maybe made it a bit more tricky for themselves than the Germans did, but both sides comfortable on offense in that first point. Interesting to see if this trend can continue, and if it does, which side is the first to try and maybe throw something different at their opponents. Sabrina Casali will pull once more. Talked about the Germans running different line combinations, and this is not the same O-line that we saw last time out. But again, doing an excellent job of swinging it around the back, and then, oh, this is moving so quickly. Nice focus on that catch. Bobbled it first time round, and then doing the sensible option of taking the reset. Ooh, Salvig couldn't get that cleanly, and must have hit the turf before she could scoop it up. The Italian player calls it down, and unfortunate stuff there for the Germans. So that's our first turnover of the game. So what this Italian D-line can do. Going to put a high one up. That's really, really well read. It's a tough catch by Bettini. Had to try and work back towards it under tight defensive pressure. Goes for the around backhand and got a hand in the middle and knocked it underneath. Number 16 it is, Franzi Meyer. Then Germans go back to work dissecting this zone even. See the Italians really giving up that space behind, and Germans generally have done a pretty good job of hitting that swing. That time just going to redirect the play back towards this sideline. This is so calm and confident from the Germans. Receivers begin to race towards the end zone. That throw pops up a little bit, comfortably caught. There's a shot available. Oh, over the first receiver, but well snagged at the second attempt. Not the attempted target, but good stuff from Kellner to make the grab. That shows the advantage of always knowing exactly where the disc is, because not the intended receiver, but able to make the catch anyway for the German goal.
Even if there's the wind and blows once again up.
Always got to keep an eye on it. As you mentioned, the wind is gonna do some funny things. So happened in the first game as well today. Always got to keep an eye, because you never know when your number might be called, so to speak. So after that first turnover, the Germans did a good job of getting it back, retaking the lead here at 2-1. Let's have another look at those again. Here's that D from the Germans, just did a good job of getting a hand in the way, getting the underneath line, and again, that throw popped up, but was well reeled in and then popped off, and then this one just sat a little bit more than they wanted. Couldn't quite bring it in, but nice snag with that right hand. For the Germans to retake the advantage. A couple of the Italian men on the sideline giving water to their female compatriots. As this game wears on, it'll be interesting to see how that short roster does affect the Italian side. German sideline getting very loud. Oh, that throw's going to pop up, and this could be a turn, and there were a couple of German defenders there. The D needed to be made because there was an Italian receiver lurking behind them.
Good D from Ruman, Lara Ruman.
Needs to get that hand in there, and she did. Has the disc now. Takes the dump off. Nice inside. Ooh, that is a difficult grab, but well caught. Volney now. Oh, and that throw is just a little too far behind. Reached out with the right hand to try and reel it in, but couldn't quite make it stick. Gasparini now. Tries to isolate a reset, couldn't find anything, and does manage to get a receiver downfield in Vorotto. That disc is caught low by Gasparini. Going to shoot towards the end zone, looking for that receiver at the far side. Excellent read there by Elisa Capucci, probably the smallest player on the pitch, but did an excellent job of getting a read on it early, forcing the defender to come too far underneath it before tracking it towards the back of the end zone. And that's an example of how, even if you're not necessarily winning a height matchup, you can position your body to make the catch. Tied up here at 2 apiece. If you're this Italian side, what do you think about doing on, how would you change your defense perhaps to put the Germans under some more pressure?
There's always some place in the middle to get the disc through, maybe close the space or try to make a man defense. Just, yeah, to try another thing, make them a little bit struggle.
Even if it's something they've seen before, just throwing something different can just, even if it just takes one extra throw where you have to think about what you need to do, can make all the difference.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a bit windy and you just rush something a little bit. So the ball goes up from the Italians. Once again, the Germans get the disc moving quickly. Oh, that
nice
was
catch.
a really strong bid and couldn't quite get there in time. Forced a tough catch. Interesting seeing the Italian defenders going one-on-one downfield, but clogging around the handlers, and that defensive change is going to make the turn that they needed. Now they're trying to move the disc quickly. Caruso looks for the swing. Here's Festini. Oh, the disc is going to sit and float, and I think maybe a little bit of a collision there. There's a German player down on the ground. It's going to take the injury. Didn't see quite how she took the knock. I think it's Maya, number 16. Hope she's okay. Looks like she's clutching her nose, perhaps. I think the turnover will stand, so the Germans will regain possession.
And it's again Schäfer with the disc.
You can see gesturing downfield where they want the players to move. Faking around, just going to take the reset. This defense seems to be putting a lot more pressure on the German handlers. And the big shot's going to go up. They've got a height matchup, but the disc is going to sit and float. And oh, I thought the Italian defender had got a good read on it. It was decent position from Mauro, but really nice catch by Rebecca Reimann.
One of the tallest player from the German team.
Really a case there of picking a matchup and hitting it, and that's playing the percentage and playing smartly, seeing a one-on-one that you like and putting it up and letting your receiver do the work. I like the change on defense though by the Italians to go one-on-one downfield, but really sag off the handlers to stop that middle, as you suggested. It opened up swings, but once they swung it, there was nowhere to go, and it just, in the end, had to take that deep shot. We're going to see the grab again now on the replay as well. Thought she might have given up reading it, but actually tracked it really nicely and plucked it out of the sky with that right hand. She's just putting a bit of inside out on the disc, getting it to sit and tail off towards the middle of the pitch. And it's good coverage on defense, but just not quite good enough. And a little change from the Germans. They're going to go zone themselves. Got a three-person cup around the disc.
Oh.
They tried to force it through, did the Italians. I thought for a second they might have come up with it, but just too many bodies in that area. So a chance for the Germans to break now. One shot to the end zone, looking for Volney. That's a great defensive play from Elena Bengi for the Italians. Only the disc back for her side. Germans had the shot they wanted. Oh, going for the high backhand over the cup. Just dives into the turf there for the Italians. This is prime position for a German break, right on the front centre of the end zone. And Volney catches the defender napping that time. So quick along the ground and utilising that speed to get the break. And it's first blood to the Germans here, taking a 4-2 lead in the game's first break. That was clinical end zone offense.
Good idea to play zone defense, to try.
Even though that's theoretically the easier position to play, easier direction to play offense from with the wind at your back, it forced a turnover in the short field, whereas their other defense hadn't, and then just quickly off the turn, isolating the receiver in that front of the end zone, getting the one-on-one matchup. And I'd probably expect to see the Germans go zone in this direction as well.
Yes, they try again. I think so too.
Obviously, if it works, it's always good. But theoretically, this is the easier direction to play zone in as well, with the wind almost acting like an extra deep defender.
Looks like they have the same players again on the field.
Again, as we mentioned, Germans going to try a few different combinations of players doing different jobs, be that on offense and defense, just to give players a chance at working, just to give the team a chance at working out exactly what they like, which players doing which jobs. And the Germans getting ready with their sideline chance as they chase down the pool. He's got the disc in her hands. The disc goes up. So do the German voices. Although unfortunately for the Germans, that pool just drifts and tails off out of that far sideline. So the Italians are going to bring it in at the brick mark. Not a difficult decision to brick it there. See the Italian player going to the front, going to the middle of the end zone, making sure she's exactly certain. You called it, more zone defense from the Germans.
Yeah, looks like.
And again, it's the same thing. You've got that three-person cup and three players in the middle, and one of them's going to get the D. Just read.
Charlotte Schal with the defense.
Yeah, read the play really well. Picking it up as well and taking the swing to start things off. Backhand towards the far sidelines. Not going to get the target though. So a second bite of the apple, so to speak, for the Italian offense. High release backhand is going to start things off. Oh, nearly got a hand in there. Came very close to being defended. Going to try and open things up with a blade over the top. That's a difficult read for the Italians, but the Germans they're all the one. They're going to get the disc moving quickly, not afraid to lose yards to give their offense a chance to get set. There's a swing there. And a nice continuation. Looking towards the end zone. Things a little bit clustered and doing the right thing of taking the reset. The shot into the end zone is right on the money. It's a really nicely timed cut by
Charlotte Franke.
Yeah, hit the open side at exactly the right time, and that's, I think, is an underrated aspect of downfield play is timing.
Yeah, to be free when the handler has the time to throw.
And it's one of the things that many offenses get so wrong is they'll have players free, but they're never free at the right time.
Right, yes.
She did an excellent job of it there, and another break for the Germans, cashing in their upwind by putting in the subsequent downwind as well. And with the Italians giving up a few points in a row, they've taken a timeout here, and I think this is a good call from the Italian side. Just get a chance to catch a breath, reset, especially if you've got a few fewer players. Taking a little breather is a good idea generally. Both these sides obviously preparing for the World Junior I'll start that again. Preparing for the World Junior Ultimate Championships taking place next month in Canada. Yes, got there in the end. See both these sides trying to play their best ultimate in the run-up, and that's why having games like this beforehand is good, so you can really get that practice under your belt and work out exactly what you need to do as a team. And it's interesting as well, because these games are live streamed, perhaps there's that little thing in your mind as well of not showing everything that you have, because there's a risk if you pull out all these exotic defenses and offenses that you lose that element of surprise that you would get.
Yeah, I think so too, yeah. To also be a little bit nervous, because how many people will watch the game?
And I guess having a game like this before the tournament means that if you get to the tournament and you get live streamed, that fear is not quite there as it would have been in the past.
Right, yeah.
And as well as that, when the weather's nice, as it has been, has been really frequently at the moment. It's been so hot recently. It's actually kind of glad there's a bit of wind and it's slightly cooler.
Yeah.
But in such beautiful surroundings as well.
The last days it was about over 30 degrees, so really hot.
Driving down from London yesterday, there was one point where we opened the car windows to see exactly how hot it was. It's a bit like when you go on holiday and you step off a plane and all of a sudden you get the whoosh of hot air. Open the car windows and it felt like that, and we promptly shut them again. Retreated to the safety of our air conditioning. That's an excellent pull from the Germans, putting the Italians right on their end zone run, and they got a turn here in the last point. Little push pass, dish off behind. The Italians trying to squeeze it down the far side, and that's a nice little bit of handle movement through, and nice grab there. Just snatched it away with that one hand.
Again, Charlotte Schall with the defense.
Proven very adept at sitting in the right space in this zone defense. And for the Germans, they found a system that's working for them, and they're keen to stick with it. Oh, spicy blade down that far sideline. That is a creative shot. I love that. Volney's clearly pleased with it as well. Throwing it up in the air in celebration. Something a little bit different there. Just made it a little bit more exciting. They've been generally pretty safe and conservative with their offense, but that was
surprising a little bit.
Yes, certainly was. A little bit of a not a wake-up call necessarily, but a bit of a counter-punch there after one of these things with zones is often they slow the game down, they take the air out of it a bit, and it can be difficult to get a bit motivated. Well, even if you're doing the right thing, because it's a bit slow, it's a bit...
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I'm trying to find the right word for it, but it just deflates things ever so slightly. So if you get a play like that pumps you up, it really puts the wind back in your sails.
Right.
So 6-2 the current scoreline in favour of the Germans after some pretty tight opening exchanges. The home side have really begun to find their feet and race away here. You just see what the Italians can do as a counter punch to that. You can see that they're still in high spirits. Nice slapping of hands on the sideline, and actually so far in the last game we had and so far in this game as well, the spirit between both sides has been excellent.
Very good, yes. On a high level.
And it's always tricky because there's a bit of I think there's an opinion where self-refereeing is still suspicious at high and international level, but on the basis of what we've seen today, it seems to be working excellently.
Yeah, the team managed them really good. So
more zone from the Germans, and not surprised to see them stick with this, although slight change in personnel this time, get some fresher legs on the field. Obviously with the Italians running a short roster, they don't necessarily have that advantage, so getting fresh legs on is always a nice bonus. Doing a pretty good job of moving it, and as I say that, put the curse of the commentator on. Just a little missed throw there, maybe came out of the hand at the wrong release point. So another chance for a German break. This is going to be picked up by number 5, Luisa Greffa. Isolating a player at the front. Maybe thinking about that break and instead trying to find the reset. Swung back into the middle. No break side continuation, but they get a player coming on that open side undercut. Force comes too far around in pursuit. Leaves the break, and oh, that was a painful D. I don't think she'll quite mind. She seems okay, and she got the D nonetheless, but that's a case of being in the right place at the right time there. Looked to get the disc to continue towards the break side, but couldn't quite get it into space enough. So a more unusual way of getting a D, but it still counts. And Vorota, who picked up that unfortunate knock, had the disc on the far side, and they've now swung it off in towards the centre. Looking for a downfield, instead just has to take a dish pass. This is where the Italian offense has generally done a pretty good job of these little crashes from behind that other handler spot. Trying to swing the disc off the sideline, pivoting around, trying to break the force. Doing a really good job of getting very wide. Oh, nice high release backhand. Popping it over the top. And the continuation towards the far sideline. That time the wind just gets underneath the throw from Naomi Niketo. So Grofer once more is going to pick up the disc after the turn. This time trapped on the sideline. Trying to squeeze it down that channel. They find the option, and the continuation into the end zone right on the spot. That was really nicely done from the German offense. Rumen getting the goal, and it's 5 goals in a row now for Germany. And Italy reeling a little bit here. They just haven't found a way to figure out that German zone.
Sounds a little bit slowly, not, yeah, they have to be more confident, take the chance to play through.
Yeah, they're really trying to be safe and sensible and swing round the back, but at some point if you don't be a bit more aggressive and take those shots through, you're going to end up just trying to end up having to make so many passes that statistically, especially in this weather, the Germans are going to get it done. And I guess they've had the problem as well of turning over around the back, that when they have tried to force it through, the German defence is they're very on their toes and very aware. And we've seen 17 of, apology. Thank you. Charlotte Charles has done a very good job, particularly of just being aware to those and getting hands in the way to pick them off.
The middle passes also 2 times.
So the switch to the zone for the Germans has certainly worked for them. It'd be interesting to see how long they stick with this, because while it's working, it'd be interesting to see if they want to say, we'll see what else we can pull out, see if this works before we go off to Canada next month. Bit of an arrow pull towards that far sideline. I think it's just going to land out of bounds. Couldn't have been far off being in. But out of bounds it is anyway, and it's going to be bricked by the Italian offense. Coming out in a 3-4 horizontal set, the Italians. German defense is going one-on-one downfield and trying to clog around the handlers, and the Italians worked out that the way to get through it is just to move the disc quickly. Oh, just a turf throw then. Center of balance maybe not quite set. Perhaps it came out of the hand slightly weird and hits the turf. And the Germans going to look deep now, find a matchup they like. Really well tracked down in the air, not quite in the end zone, and the pop-off for the goal, really well done. Excellent deep cut by Maya. The throw was in front of her and well read, and the pop to Kellner for the goal is going to take us into half-time at 8-2 for the Germans after what looked like it would be quite a tight game at the start. They've really run away with it, the home side.
With the zone defense, I think it was 5 points in a row, something like that.
It's been pretty confident from the Germans. Just took a little bit of time maybe to find their feet, work out what was going to work for them. And as we mentioned a couple of times, they're just trying to get a couple of different options under their belt. And once they settled on the zone defense, it really foxed the Italians. So half-time, 8-2 the current score in this international under-20 test match between Germany here in Heidelberg and their Italian visitors. Also been going on this weekend is the European Youth Ultimate Camps, trying to integrate, get more young players that intense ultimate experience, and it ties in with the whole train the trainers thing, trying to get more high-level coaches in as well. And obviously both these sides going to World Juniors next month in Canada, taking place in Waterloo next month between the 18th and 25th. Obviously, seems Germans probably be pretty pleased with this performance so far. Take a lot of heart from this, and it's a big morale booster going in. If you're the Germans, what are you saying in this half-time huddle? It's been pretty good so far for them.
To keep on the zone defense, I think it works really good to keep on, and maybe to be more powerful in the man defense. But yeah, just keep going on, do the big shots, the deep shots. Yeah.
On the counterpoint, what do you think's going on in this Italian huddle right now? Because obviously the half's gone very different from their point of view.
They have maybe to stop the insides from the German players. They are really strong handlers in the team, but yeah, to keep the head up, just keep fighting. It's not the end of the game. They still have a chance to win the game.
And you're right. It's obviously it's a big deficit, but I mean I've been in games where with bigger deficits than this, and you do see teams make comebacks, and often it's a case of it's a bit like dominoes, where maybe you just get one or two in a row, and all of a sudden you just kind of get on a train, and you can't really, and it's difficult to stop from a defensive point of view. Obviously, you need to do a bit of sorting out, and you can see the coaches there. Intense discussion with the Italians, probably trying to work out exactly how to break down the zone defense.
Yeah, to get through.
I find we've been playing against most zones. There's always one killer pass that will just open things up, and it's a question of finding out exactly where that space is and how to hit it.
Maybe also try the deep shots to be, yeah, have more options.
It's a good point actually.
Possible.
We haven't seen that from the Italians at all really this game, and even if they don't come off, maybe just showing them that you're going to do it will just make them think a bit more about it defensively. And if that draws deep, that might draw the deep defender out and open up more space in the middle.
Right. Because otherwise the Germans are staying too close to the players and not in the end zone.
It's not a question of the Germans not respecting it necessarily, but the Italians just haven't threatened it enough, I don't think. So after half-time, teams are going to change ends. 8-2, the current scoreline in favour of the hosts. They're going to start on defence. Pulling to the Italians. Second half just about to start here in Heidelberg, Germany. Here on the WFDF YouTube channel. It's under-20 test match between the Germans and the Italians in preparation for WJUC next month, and as well as Heidelberg being just a lovely city in general. We're very excited to say that obviously next year there's going to be more international ultimate here for the World Under-24 Ultimate Championships. Will you be playing there?
I hope so. I will go to the tryouts, and yeah, maybe we will see us again on the field.
Obviously, fingers crossed.
Thanks.
And so from the German perspective, do you know when trials start for that?
Yes, it's on the mid of September, after all the big events are over. So yeah, there will be in the south tryout, and also in the
North?
North, right? So yeah, all players from Germany from all parts are able to visit the tryouts.
It'll only be exciting to see which players make the squads, because obviously with country like Germany, where there's so many ultimate players, it's always interesting to see which players make their way up through the ranks. And obviously, you've mentioned that you've played a lot of youth ultimate already. I feel that would give you like a nice inside track. Let's hope so. So the Germans are going to start the second half in much the same way they dominated the first, with some high. Ooh, a little overthrow there, but Charles was the closest defender who put pressure on that underneath cut. Had an excellent game defensively, and that's the same look they closed the first half with, going one-on-one with the cutters downfield, but clogging around the handlers. That shot from Olney is going to swirl up in the air. Really nicely defended. Got a good read on that early on. Did number 26, Noemi Niketo. There's a swing available there. Italians trying to get the disc moving before the German defense gets set. It's either the three handlers and almost a wide arrowhead up front, but stifling coverage downfield. That throw is going to pop up ever so slightly, and just got her hands maybe too far underneath it. Couldn't wrap them around, and knocked to the ground by the German defender. So they're going to get a second shot at offense here. Charles picks up, maybe thinking about the inside break. Take a sensible reset into the centre. Motioning cutters downfield. Just gone that sideline. Shot goes to the end zone. It's going to be a chase down. Nicely done, inbounds. Bengi was the closest defender. Couldn't get there in time, and Greva, who's done a decent job with the disc in her hands, throwing as well, is going to add a goal to her tally. So the second half begins much the way the first half ended for the Germans. Another break, 9-2. It's hard to believe that at the start this game was once 2-2, and now 7 in a row for the Germans.
Quite impressive.
It's certainly interesting as well, because a lot of the time if you get a few points in a row, I find your intensity can drop.
Yeah, maybe to be too sure how to win and get a little bit less energy on the field could be dangerous.
But they've done a very good job of keeping that drive there. And it's still, when throws pop up, they're still chasing these down and still going for them, just to make sure there's no Italians lurking behind them, and that's really good to see from a mental point of view. So 9-2 the current scoreline. German women really in the driving seat in this game. We'll see if the Italians can find a bit more momentum and find their feet in this second half. Obviously the first half started with the teams trading out for the first 4 points. The Italians would like to start the second half in the same way. That ball's going to just catch the wind and tail off at that far sideline at the very end. This chant that the German women are doing at the pool, are they saying GUN?
Yes, it stands for German Ultimate National.
That makes a lot of sense, yeah. And it's that same defensive look. Going 1-1 downfield, as you mentioned, sitting underneath those cutters. But relatively flat, 3 at the front. Trying to encourage swinging of the disc without letting anything get free downfield, and that throw is just too far upfield and getting a hand in the way, knocking it out. Number 43, I'm probably going to, can you pronounce that for me? I'm probably going to get it wrong.
It's Nirschel.
I would have got that wrong, yeah. And as the shot into the end zone, immediately one throw for the break. Charles Volney again, 2 players have been standouts for the Germans. Thanks for that. It's one of the things I'm always worried about when covering international teams, is getting the pronunciations wrong. But again, the Germans just clinical on the break. One throw into the end zone. And it was a really nice D, because a quick reaction is just to get a hand in the way and knock it away. And then just did not give the Italians any sniff after the turnover. And this is an incredibly pleasing and promising performance for this German side. Nice replay there of it as well. Obviously, the under-20 under 20 women's EYUC didn't quite go the way they wanted. Lost a really, really tight game to the Russians in the quarterfinals, and then just couldn't quite find their feet in the placement games. So really the first big game after that on a national scale. It's good to see that.
To be back in a way, yeah.
Yeah, have the performance that we know they're capable of.
Yeah.
And obviously brought some players up from that under 17 women's side that won that exhilarating final against the Austrians. And that was an atmospheric game in the pouring rain for most of it. It was really attritional stuff. And so that'll certainly be I mean, in just a whole week and a game personally that I will remember for a long, long time. It was just you couldn't take your eyes off it. And talked obviously about players having international experience. Not only that, but having won international tournaments as well. It seems silly, but there's certainly something to be said about knowing how to win and pull out those tight games. So again, a slightly different defensive look once more for the Germans. In the past, they'd gone one-on-one downfield, but this time it looks like they're going one-on-one with the handlers and poaching a little bit more.
In the middle there is a poach.
Trying to stop those jams through, and I love that they haven't just gone for the same thing over and over again. They've tried to keep the Italians guessing, and we talked about opening it up with a deep game. That's a lovely rolling forehand right in the path of the receiver, but couldn't quite get it to stick in the end zone. It's unfortunate, and it's good to see that they finally decided to open things up a bit more and use that deep shot. Because they proved that was a really nicely weighted throw.
To also gain yards in the back.
The German offense going again. That throw's just going to be a bit low. Never really got going somehow, and Italy not wasting any time and getting going again. Oh, just guilty there of looking downfield. Gatti just thought about the next pass before she quite had it completely caught, and we've all been guilty of that. I know I've done it more times than I probably should have. Good defense here from the Italians, not really letting a lot go on. Nice play in the back to get Savik in the reset. Having to take another reset this time. Not really getting much downfield, and the throw goes behind the target, and it's another turn for the Italians. Their defense has been very good this point. Gasparini looking for an option. Now on this sideline, that's a lovely cut into space, but the throw's popped up, goes over the first, but we talked about always keeping your eyes on the disc, and that's the benefit of it, with Elena Bengi making the catch for the first Italian scoring about 9 points. But it's good to see that they're still excited about it. Often in these games, after you let a team go out to a big lead, even when you score it can feel a bit underwhelming, but it's good to see that they've still got smiles on their faces after that goal. And maybe not quite how they drew it up. It popped over the first receiver, but the German defender couldn't quite get there either. And that's why you always have to have your eyes on the disc, because you never know when you might be called upon. Seeing it on the replay. Verotto's throw just pops up over it. The German defender can't quite get there. Centimetres away, but Bengi's in exactly the right spot to make a comfortable catch. Came so close to getting the block. Couldn't quite get there. And the Italians are back on the board. Still a long way down at 10-3, but after such a long time without scoring, getting back on the board is a big confidence booster.
Sure. Maybe, the right situation to get new energy to start again.
And maybe at this point you're not thinking about the game as a whole, but just thinking about what can we do for this next point or these next couple of points. And after that, if you go, you win the next 2 points, then okay, well now we can think about the next 2 points.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, the game can be really tight. That ball's caught comfortably. And again, Germans done a very good job of moving the disc quickly off the pool, gaining yards before the defence has a chance to set. Oh, that's a really nice grab under pressure. And they're going to shoot deep. The disc's going to roll curve back in. Nice grab in the end, caught with the left hand. Doing the sensible thing, there's a free dump, and so taking that reset quickly. German cutter comes back towards the disc. Got a reset available perhaps. Faking around. Oh, the mark bites on that one. Big bid from Nekato's just shy. Threw herself towards the ground and couldn't quite get there in time. Gets a nice hand up from her teammates, a bit of a slap of hands from the Germans, but show there the advantage of really being purposeful and powerful with your faking, because the defender really bit on it, and it meant that that break shot could go without any real pressure on the throw. And as a force, you need to make sure that what your priority is, and that time just got sucked in too far, and the bit is not far off but couldn't get it done. And it's one of the things you see quite a lot. You're so focused on getting the disc that you end up getting too far over and giving up the break side. And as the force, you've got to remember that your main job is not to get broken, not necessarily to get blocks there. So a little bit of pressure there from the Italians, yep, but Germans just about getting it done there. And after not having an O point for a long old time, it's good to see that they could still go in with intensity and get the job done relatively quickly. A lot of times after there's a long string of breaks, you find that it can often get answered by the other team just because your offense hasn't been on the field for so long. But I guess one of the advantages of mixing up the combinations and getting all the players is that everyone
is playing, not get out of with the head out of the game.
Exactly, and obviously we talk about the Italians having fewer players, and obviously that can affect in terms of how much energy you have. But it does mean that you're constantly involved in the game when you're constantly getting active, and it as well as keeping your muscles warm mentally, it's easy to get engaged with the game when you're constantly involved. Often if you're in a really big side, it can be pretty easy just to take a couple of points off in the sideline because there's so many people, and when you do, it can be so difficult to switch back on again. So again, the Germans trying to clog the middle of the field for those handlers. The Italians do a nice job of swinging it around, and then there's the deep shot. Can she track it down? Oh, so close. Was a monstrous bid. Got a hand on it. Getting a rightful round of applause from the sidelines is number 22, Sabrina Casali. That would have been a hell of a play. It just spiraled off her fingertips. German offense is going to go back to work. Thinking about a deep shot themselves, maybe. Trying to squeeze it down the sideline. A little too much mustard on that one. Just couldn't bring it in with the left hand. If I'm the Italians, we're seeing now that they're going towards this deep game is working. They're opening up the German defense a bit more, so I wouldn't be surprised to see them go for it again. This is a really nice mark, trapping them on that sideline. And there is the deep shot, looking for the big target of Bengi. Nice defensive play by the Germans. I think it's number 35 getting the block. It's Kati Hulhorst. It's again nice, really good, really spicy matchup then. Two players getting underneath the disc, and the defender just got a better read on it on the end, able to go and get it early. Dishing off downfield. Dishing off, sorry, into the handler space. Not a lot going on downfield. Oh, what an athletic take. Malwin Luda. That was a hell of a snag. Might look a lot easier than it was. Big arcing swing, raking its way across the field, and that throw got nowhere. Not sure whether it got tipped on the mark, but just a little bit undercooked. Angela with the throw into the middle. Here's Gatti. Oh, low grab. Nicely caught. Good hands there. Continuation down that far sideline for Verotto. Verotto surveys the field. Again, pressure from the Germans, but the Italians are making these catches stick at the moment. Tries to isolate the reset, just out of the reach of the defender. There's a nice sort of continuation into the end zone, and again, asking an awful lot of Casali. She's getting space, but the throws are just too far. Maybe they're, obviously with the German pressure that's generally been so tight, they're seeing these windows and they're so keen to take them. They're just making the disc more difficult than it needs to be.
Yeah.
That's what good defense can do. Even when there's windows, you're so mentally pressured.
Yeah. Just maybe to wait a second and then throw.
Yeah, take a breath, make sure it's 100%. Overthrow there. Nice peel off there. Bengi wasn't the defender marking that cutter, but saw the disc overthrown and was able to get in the way. The Italians have really found their feet a bit more. As we mentioned, just that one goal can change everything.
Good continuation from the players.
This is good defense though, trying to really stifle them on that sideline. Bengi's going to blade it across. Tough grab. Oh, just misread it so slightly. Came too short. She probably should have continued a little bit. Gasparini just didn't quite get the catch. She nearly got it anyway, but I think if she stuck with her original read, she would have been okay.
Yeah, could be.
Charles trying to get the disc moving. Does so with a swing into the centre, and with this point drawing on a little bit. Timeout from the Germans. I think this is the right move. This point's gone on for a fair few minutes now, and German offense hasn't quite looked as fluid as it did earlier. So maybe just taking a breath is a good call.
But also the defense from the Italians are getting stronger. They're closer to the players.
Yeah, they've not had it as easy this half as they did in the first, and credit for the Italians for not letting their heads drop necessarily and continuing to fight through this game. What do you think the Germans will try offensively when they break the timeout?
Maybe just to continue with the deep shots, and to start when the handler has the disc, to start with running, to be fast in the play.
Just get the disc moving quickly.
Yeah.
So halfway through the second half in this under-20 test match here in the beautiful city of Heidelberg, Germany, which is going to be the host city for the World Under-24 Ultimate Championships between, I think it's July 13th to 20th next year. I'm sure if that's wrong, someone will shout at me over the internet. But it's been a pleasure being here covering these two games today, and everyone's been so welcoming and friendly, and it's such a beautiful city as well. I mean, you can see on the camera such a picturesque background. It's much better than just the boring expanse of brown grass we've got in London so far. It's nice to just not go to a city where it's skyscrapers everywhere and you actually have proper scenery and everything. It's a lovely change. And all fingers crossed that I get the chance to come back and commentate next year as well. So both sides breaking their huddles as we go into what could be heading towards the final stanza of the game. The Germans 10-3 up, tied at 2-2 early on in the game, and the Germans raced to an 8-2 half-time lead before coming back, starting the second half strong. See the Italian players sticking around after their open game aid to support their friends and compatriots. Had a nice little crowd turn out, and it's been a really nice atmosphere as well. I can't imagine what it's going to be like next year when we've got all these teams coming from around the world and we've got these stands full. It's always fun to watch. So the Germans going to play things safely out of the timeout rather than immediately go for the boosters, try and get the disc moving quickly, and that's partly because the Italians have transitioned on defense, going to a more zonal look, just trying to maybe throw the Germans off a bit, maybe expecting the match-up defense out of the timeout. Germans did a very good job of working it around the back though until the space opened up downfield. There's a deep shot, it's gonna sit, this is spicy. Benga goes up early, can't quite get there. Well pulled down.
And again it's Nirsche, Livia with the grab.
The disc hung in the air for a little bit and I thought Benga had a shot at it. It was a slightly dicey decision, but you love seeing the faith in the receiver, and that was really confident offense for the Germans because they swung it around the back a little and waited for the windows to open rather than forcing it through. Really good stuff there from the host side. And so many times we see off timeouts, teams end up turning over because they have a plan in mind. And if they get thrown off from that plan, they can't find an alternative. But you've got to credit the... that's the word I'm looking for. Not the ingenuity, but the adaptability from the Germans. They transitioned really quickly into a different idea rather than being focused on what...
To be flexible in a way, to be able...
Flexible, thank you, that's the word I was looking for. It's really annoying when someone is better at me in speaking English when they're not even English. It's been a long day, I'll put it down to that. It's been a fun day as well. Here at Heidelberg, Germany, for these two under-20 test matches between Germany and Italy. We had the men's game that ended in a sudden death thriller with the Germans running out 9-8 winners. Looking a bit more comfortable in this game, although obviously there's plenty of time still to go potentially. The Germans are just going to go in single coverage. Shot goes downfield, too high for the first receiver. You like that the Italians were keen to get there anyway, but couldn't quite do it that time. Number 22, Sabrina Casali, who's shown a penchant for throwing herself around the field, tried to save it, but couldn't quite do it that time. Vonley with a nice inside forehand, opening things up to Charles. Those two have worked really well together this game. That's a combination I imagine the Germans will stick with at the World Junior Championships next month.
I think there's a call on the field.
Potentially a foul on the throw.
Yeah, looks like a foul.
This seems to be going back to the handler. Checked back in. And instantly break into the centre of the field.
With Wedemeyer Lucy make the point.
Did a really nice job there. Just as soon as the disc was checked back in, cut really hard towards the centre of the field, and the most important thing with cutting is that you're always making an effort, because if you're not going full stretch, you just seem to end up cluttering and clogging space for other people. See it here on the replay, immediately check back in and not wasting any time. Immediately throwing the goal. So the Germans leading 12-3 at the moment. Took half 8-2, and second half has been much the same as the first. Germans feel like they're in cruise control, although it feels like the Italians have put up a bit more of a fight the second half than they did in the first.
To show more confidence also.
Even though the scoreline doesn't necessarily reflect it, it definitely feels like it's not been as easy for Germany this half.
No.
And there's the now oh so familiar chance of GUN. It's really nice as well with the stands around. When they do the claps, it gets a little bit of an echo going. It's a really nice little effect. Oh, just snatching it through, got the inside track and immediately throwing for the end zone, just a touch too far. It was a lovely D. Number 88, Rebecca Ryman, really put the jets on to get underneath and snatch that disc away, but the throw for Kellner was just a touch too far. Maybe that's one of those things where you've still got the adrenaline going, you just put a little more on it than you need to. Italians find it underneath on this near slide. Letizia Gazzi has it, and oh, was that foot blocked? I think she got a piece of that. Well, Ryman's having an excellent point. Muller picks up on this sideline. Fakes that low inside forehand. Isolates the reset instead to Salvik. Nice continuation cut. Shooting for the end zone. This is going to be a tough ask. Tries to toe the sideline. Couldn't quite see from this angle exactly where the foot was when she made the catch. It was very tight.
It's a point.
Yeah, good spirit by the Italians, talking to the sideline and deciding that it was in bounds. Made the catch just before she dragged the tape. So nice toe in on the sideline. 13-3 to Germany, the current score, and just a couple of points away from sealing this victory here. And that's an excellent point for Ryman. Got a couple of Ds. Nice toe in there.
Good footwork also.
Yeah, and it was good that rather than immediately run off and celebrating, she knew it was tight, so she went and asked her teammates and got the opinion of the sideline as well. A lot of exciting things going on in that point. Here it is again. It looks good to me. I think you've got the benefit now of slow motion and close angles. Yeah, I think it definitely looks like she toes it in bounds before she drags the tape. That is a fantastic job of towing that in bounds. You see she's got that little smile on her face as if she thinks she's got it, but she's going to double check anyway. Score currently 13-3. Germans winning this half 5-1. That's a nice little leading backhand. Thinks about the boost, but chooses to holster it instead to play a little bit more conservatively. Force did a very good job of dissuading that, and tight coverage. Block comes, but there's going to be a foul called. Maybe felt too much contact as she came through. Sun beginning to set in the distance here in Heidelberg. That's going to be a clean run through D. It's Shaw once more, who's had such a fantastic game defensively. Been all over the field for the Germans. Muller's throw, however, downfield is just too far behind. Shot goes up from Italy. Makes the catch, doing a very good job of working back towards the disc. Didn't get as much distance on it as they wanted, but when they have gone deep, Sabrina Casali's been a favoured target for them, and a nice block is going to get the disc back. Muller's been very good as a handler for the Germans, but doing the work defensively that time. Shot goes up, that's going to float and sit. I thought for a second she might get a shot at it, but would never quite fall for Ryman in the end. So Festini picks up for Italy. Nice underneath. Oh, couldn't get the catch. Throw came in very quick, and it's always difficult in those situations to know exactly how to get your hands set, and it just spun off them. Is Müller? There's a swing available if they want it. Chooses to take the IO forehand instead, and it just always keeps a bit low and never gives the receiver a chance. Trying to push it downfield rather than take the sure thing and the swing. Just off towards that far sideline. Nice lead pass for Bengi. Only gets the force on. Getting really active on her toes. Swing comes off under very tight coverage. The Germans really putting pressure on their Italian counterparts. Store count rising. Shoots it deep. There's going to be a lot of receivers under it. In the end, it's Müller who grasps it comfortably for the Germans, marches it to the front of the end zone. Oh, the throw's a bit behind, and the Italians are going to get it back instantly. Müller's been guilty of a couple of throwaways at this point, I'm afraid. Thinking about the bigger round backhand. Oh, instead going to go for the blade down the sideline. It's a slightly risky shot, but it's really well weighted, and Chiara Bettini makes the catch for the Italians. Back on the board. And again, love to see that they're continuing to fight all the way till the end. And what I liked about that as well, and that final turnover, was rather than just when it was tipped, rather than just let it hit the ground, choosing to catch it to make sure, A, that the Germans couldn't mop it up, and B, so they could get the offense moving quickly as well. And that was why that score came, because they were able to get that blade down the sideline to a receiver in space as the German defender wasn't quite set in the right space.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful evening here in Heidelberg, Germany. Bring you coverage of 2 under-20 test matches in preparation for the World Junior Ultimate Championships in Waterloo, Canada next month. Italy and Germany, and men's sides faced off earlier today, where the Germans ran out 9-8 winners, and now it's the women's turn. Italians getting ready to pull. The Germans been pretty comfortable the entire way, it feels here. After what was a close start, they've pulled away, and the Italians never really seem to have an answer. They've battled well, but just haven't really been able to massively trouble the home side. Here goes to Schaffer. Trying to isolate a reset. Oh, it's clustered. That's a really nice snag with one hand by Müller, because that was a very ugly looking reset space. 2 players both in there and 2 defenders as well. Again, tight reset. Stallcamp beginning to tick over. Takes the reset back off. Charles with a little swing. Lovely low release, getting it underneath the force. Only thinking about the deep. Going to do with the around backhand. Oh, the throw just sits wonderfully on the wind. It's number 88, Rebecca Reimann, once more. Another player who's had a great game for Germany. And that'll take them on to game point. 14-4, and they'd love to close it out with a break, with another break as well. Just begin to see the sunset in the background towards the left-hand side of our cameras. It's been a wonderful afternoon. I guess evening really of Ultimate for us here. It's been an absolute pleasure to cover it. So this could be the final point of this game if the Germans can get the break here. And I know on a personal level, if I've if I'm on game point, I don't want to hang around, let the game go on any longer than it has to.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and get it finished as quickly as possible. But you can't, doesn't mean you can think about what you're going to do afterwards. You've still got to focus completely on what's going on at this point. The Italians want to get the disc moving quickly. Big purposeful fake. Trying to space around the front line of this German zone. Nice swing around and good continuation. Going to gain a few yards doing it as well. That's what they need to do. Little crash in. Slight bit of air under it to go get the receiver a chance to attack it. Nice swing around. Continuation comes a little bit late in the German defence set since they have to lose a few yards on that swing. Try and game them back here. There's an option inside the cup. Trying to raid it down the sideline. Hits on the hand, but just couldn't quite close it in time. Was a nice effort regardless by Bettini. Now the Germans with a chance to end the game. Franco finds Volney underneath. It's a lovely leading backhand, a little bit of inside out on it. Gave Charles a chance to run onto it, and Charles and Volney have been such a potent combination, shooting for the end zone and tries to toe the sideline. That's a nice way to end the game. Volney looked like she had her head in her hands a bit, thought it was going to turn out, but the receiver did a nice job of keeping her feet in bounds, and that's going to be the end of the game here. The Germans just dominant in the end, much the better side, and look good value for a 15-4 win here. What do you think was the main difference between the two sides here today?
Maybe at the beginning, the deep shots from the German side, and also the zone defense was really good. Make the Italians struggle, and yeah, and also to make the point after a defense.
Yeah, when the Italians did get turns, their offense on the or D-line offense wasn't anywhere near as clinical as the Germans was, and it's good as well for Germany. They tried a few different things, and most of them seemed to work. And you kind of get the feeling that they probably have some other options that they didn't need to bring out necessarily, because the ones they did try worked so well. And that's, from a German perspective, it's nice that you haven't necessarily got everything out there on film.
But also nice layouts from the Italian side, especially in the end zone.
A couple of really, really big bids, and the fact that the desire is still there even late in a game and late in the day is always good to see. And good credit to the Italian side for playing with a lot of heart, and both sides actually played a really nice, spirited game, it has to be said. It's been a lovely couple of games here in Heidelberg, Germany. These two under-20 test matches. Both sides obviously preparing for the World Junior Ultimate Championships taking place in Waterloo, Canada next month between the dates of August the 18th and the 25th. Obviously, best of luck to all four sides that we saw today, both two men's and women's from Italy and Germany. And obviously next year here in Heidelberg, we'll have the World Under-24 Ultimate Championships, where hopefully we'll get a chance to see you play.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Fingers crossed, good luck with the tryouts and everything. It's been a wonderful day here in Heidelberg, coming to an end now. In fact, it's been a lovely day of streaming for us as well, but for all the people involved, and we've been made so welcome in Heidelberg. It's just been a fantastic experience to cover, and that's partly thanks to the people helping to organise the games today and the tournaments next month. And obviously these games running on from the European Youth Ultimate Camps that have been going on as well. And that's going to bring an end to the close of proceedings today. Thank you very much for watching these two games. The Italians having a little bit of fun with our cameras as the day draws to a close. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for joining me on commentary. It's been an absolute pleasure. Hopefully you had fun, and good luck in good luck when you attend the German tryouts in a couple of months' time.
Thanks.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. We're going to give you a little nice little replay sizzle package to close on. Thank you so much for joining us. I've been Benjamin Rees.
And Patricia.
And we will see you very soon. Thanks for watching.
What you need, then you get close. Underneath rhymes, I'ma need mine too, like I need yours. So rejuvenating, musing, mating, grooving through the ropes on the coast, when maneuver making, choosing, raking through on a cruise to the innermost. See the host making toast with a hostess with the focus and ferocious stuff to share. Get it on the notion of a potion, lotion, rub it on and need some right there. Only love, give right above, can find there's plenty room to glide. Cause only love survives this love, so right now gently in tonight. I know what I need affection, yeah. Gotta work that out for me. I know what I want, I know what I need affection. No. I know what I want, I know what I need affection, yeah. Gotta work that out for me. I know what I want, I know what I need affection.
TV.